Hello and welcome to Cutie Art Crusaders episode 15. Thanks again for joining us. We always like to start off a podcast that way. We hope you guys enjoyed our last episode with the Journey of the Spark crew. That was pretty cool. We like to sometimes give a little shout out to different projects and community projects, you know, like Children of Night and Journey of the Spark, because we're about the community, we're about the ponies. But I'm Bern. Yeah, right. Yay ponies. So, I guess we can go ahead and start getting this underway. Yeah. My name is Bernda1, and I am today the host and then special guest coordinator, and then also this week I'm going to be the editor again.
Yay.
Yeah. Rainbow Plasma won't be joining us because he is... What is he doing again?
He's in Canada
He's
somewhere.
Canadian.
He's doing some Canadian things.
Well, regardless, so Rainbow Plasma won't be here, but without Rainbow Plasma, we still have our other two amazing podcast members who are...
I'm PhotoGuy317. I'm in charge of the art and art submissions and stuff like that.
And I'm Pinky Dash. I do all the questions, and sometimes I do a lot of stuff on the DeviantArt page too.
All right.
Cool.
Let's see. News this week. I don't know if we have any cool news. Oh, we do have some very cool news. What is it? Not the airing date, but the airing month of My Little Pony is finally out.
Yeah,
that's
November.
pretty exciting.
November.
Just sometime November. Hopefully November 1st. We can only hope.
It'll be like the
That'd be
31st
awesome.
or something.
Yeah, November 31st. That'd be awful.
They're just like, yeah, we're just going to, give you November so that you're satisfied.
It's totally going to be like the 31st. Like the last day of November.
As far as news goes, I think you also had an interaction with a kangaroo, Pinky Dash.
I'm Australian, so yeah, that happens.
What happened? I just heard about it over Skype a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember.
You don't remember? There's so many kangaroos so little time.
Well, it was annoying me while I was at work.
While you were at work, a kangaroo was
I
annoying
was
you.
just at work, and then this kangaroo just walked up to me and bounced up to me, and I was like, "Hey!" It was like, "Hi," and then turned around and bounced off again.
What?
But it came back like 2 or 3
See,
times.
this is hilarious to me because I'm American.
Yeah.
It came back a couple times, and I was like, well, "Go away, kangaroo! I'm trying to work."
Go away, kangaroo. Kangaroo, stop.
Skippy,
Leave
go
me
away.
alone.
Skippy, leave. Skippy,
That's
why?
All right. Well,
That's hilarious.
Anyway,
Such...
I guess
Skippy,
the last
what do you
little...
do?
Skippy.
Skippy.
Anyway,
Somehow...
we're
Yeah.
getting a little off track. Last little bit of a news, I guess. I guess it's news. I got a fancy new mic, and I'm super excited about that. So hopefully I sound awesome and amazing and sexy time.
You sound like you've got long hair.
Oh, thank you. That's what I aim for. So
Okay.
anyway,
Cool.
Hopefully I'm not awful voice quality. So I think it's about time we go ahead and get started. Photo guy.
All right. I will get started on some of the art. Our theme this week, we actually came up with elements of harmony. So all of our art pieces are somehow connected to the elements of harmony, or they feature them, basically.
Like fluff-wise, or story-wise.
What about the elements of armory?
It's there's a lot of pictures that we just like.
Yeah.
But
there were a lot of really cool pictures that we really wanted to feature, and we finally managed to find a way to work them all into an awesome little theme.
And this first piece is called The Ancient Elements of Harmony by Zyam05.
All right, and if you remember Zyam05, we've actually done, one other of his pieces, but this is a new piece just by him.
Yeah, Discord versus Lightmare Sun.
And this piece, oh my goodness. Again, Zyam05 living up to how amazing he always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said it does some pretty epic pictures.
This piece is it's so detailed. Like if you look at, I guess this is supposed to be like a stag tree thing.
He has each one of them named and labeled. I'll go ahead and label them for you. From right to left, we have Celestia and Luna, the elements of magic, so just like Twilight Sparkle was. And then we have Phoenix the Dragon Slayer, who's that flaming phoenix pony with like the flaming feathers. And then, of course, Philomena on his shoulder there. And then we have Palanin Lifekeeper, Entdeer, element of kindness. And we have Dr. Hooves himself, element of loyalty, with his little gun there. And then we have Ban Dragonheart, the buffalo, element of honesty. And we have Surprise, the skeleton, element of laughter. It's kind of funny. He doesn't look too giggly. Normally when you think element of laughter, you think Pinkie Pie and happiness. But this guy, like...
This guy's a skeleton. He's got a smile on his face, though.
I think the tricks and, like, thinking of him laughing is a little creepy.
He's all smiley, so that's
And that,
kind of a good
that
thing.
blue, like, air, like, aura around him is really cool, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a mist of like, or like a foggy. It's really neat. Yeah, Zymo 5 always does like really intricate, detailed stuff.
Yeah, he does a lot of cool stuff. I've got him as my wallpaper on my phone at the moment, actually.
What was the name of the last piece that we did by
Discord
him?
versus Lightmare Sun.
Lightmare Sun, that's right.
Yes.
That's what I've got as my phone wallpaper.
Nice. Kind of similar to that piece, there's a lot of like intricate lighting details in this piece. Like if you look at the sky, you kind of have this like over on the left, it's kind of like a grayish, like a cooler feel to it, like the clouds and stuff, and then the clouds get more intense and more red and a little bit hotter or warmer over on the right where there's like dragons and it looks like a big fortress and stuff.
Looks like Mordor.
The whole theme to this piece, is like the ancient elements of harmony. So it's like when everything, was in its chaotic state, when Discord was, taking over the realm, whatever, way back before the actual elements of harmony, like in the episode that we watched, took over everything. Because I forget how the little fluff in the book or in the show went. It was Discord ruled like Equestria for like 1,000 years or something, and then he returned, and then the main six banished him or something.
Something like that.
Something like I don't know.
Something along those lines.
Well, regardless, this is in Discord's first reign, because in season 2 that was his second reign.
Yes.
Because he was banished before, when he's going through the stained glass windows and stuff.
Yeah, Celestia and Luna banished them.
Original, Celestia and Luna, but they had to have the other elements of harmony besides just Celestia and Luna, so like this as a backstory is pretty cool. And I love how he works in Doctor Hooves of all people.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Well, he's a time turner.
I really need to watch the Doctor Who series.
I've never watched it, like any of them.
Neither have I. We should do that.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna probably like hate us for not seeing it.
I like being the oddity. Like I'm the only three that have never seen it.
One of the little issues
I think Rebel Plasma watches it.
What, Doctor Who? Does he?
I think so.
I don't think so.
Doesn't he? I thought he said something about
it.
No.
Anyway, one of the little things we had trouble coming up with beforehand for this episode in particular was like a theme. Like I kind of wanted to do color because all of these pieces had like amazing things about color to them. And Zymo 5 he's an amazing artist, and there's so many like amazing things he does, and like the uses of color in this are just breathtaking. I mean, for the ultimate red, that dark, that black, the ominous on the right hand side, and then each like color of the characters is always really like bright and vivid. I mean, and then the highlights on the outsides of them, like you were just talking about the lighting in the background, you can kind of tell that they have this bright glow about them, especially like on the back of the buffalo there. You notice his back is like glowing, and like the antlers of the stag, and even on like the front of zoom in on that, but the front of Phoenix the Dragon Slayer's helmet has that bright shine, like white outline to him. Something I was talking about in our, was it the atmospheric perspective episode, about like having an ultimate white outline on things is sometimes something that people don't think of or don't use, but it can create a lot of contrast and like separation from like the background of something to an actual character highlight. So there's all over in this piece, you'll see like a really ultimate color of white outlining specific parts or features of characters. And I mean, I forget what that's called, but like that technique of just adding some kind of highlight of color or white on the outside of something really creates something to pop, and it always looks really amazing, especially in this piece. Is a really great example.
It does a good job of kind of portraying light behind the character, because it's kind of like the light is wrapping around them or shining from behind.
Yeah.
I love Luna in this piece.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize who they were.
I like Celestia's face. Little Celestia.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that their mane and tail are portrayed differently in here.
Yeah. I think that's the
I don't know.
fan accepted version of them being younger though, with Celestia
Yeah.
being pink and Luna being white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another really cool little like fan what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's a fan comic, like fan story, is a piece by Cosmic Unicorn called Discordedly. That's an awesome comic that if you like this like theme of, the first reign of Discord, that's an awesome piece.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't be highlighting that today. Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What I really like about this piece actually is it takes kind of several different styles of character, I guess, and kind of combines them. Like you have, Dr. Hooves is like maybe a steampunk kind of, has a steampunk look to them, and then this skeleton dude, Surprise, has like this flowing look, and it's like they're all kind of unique in their own way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And but they're all like, it all looks like it. They should be together.
From like steampunk to armor to like Indian or Native American to like living tree form to the undead itself is definitely really cool. And then you just have the normal alicorns, so the ponies. Each style on individual pieces of the characters is done really cool. Let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, Celestia and Luna look the most like the show, like the most show accurate, like pony theme, and all the others, are really realistic. And that's what Zymo 5 is so awesome at, is doing things in like this like upper sense of realism. Even in the comments, or one of his little critiques, someone mentions it's almost like World of Warcraft, like concept art like style.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
World of Warcraft-esque, rather. I mean, you got Tauren, all that kind of stuff in there, but even what is it, the complete background landscape, the landscape like portions, that citadel in the background, and like the dragons are all done really well. As far as like overall style goes, this is actually a bit more cartoony than Zymo, like cartoon show accurate, more like, than some of the stuff that Zymo 5 does. Some of the stuff that like he's really well known for is just the ultimate amounts of realism, like in that Lightmare Sun, where everything is just super gritty and realistic, and just ultimate amounts of realism. Where in this one, like in Celestia and Luna, it kind of steps back and gives it a more show accurate feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of almost stand out because they're a little bit like less detailed. Again, not that that's bad. It's like kind of drawing your focus to them and also to the other characters.
It's kind of cute because it kind of separates them, gives them their own little like universe that they're from, and each one is like from, it kind of separates them and from like different parts of this world that they're from. That armor is so amazing, the amount of realism and like depth in 3D that goes into, or dimension that goes into that armor. And then you have like the show accurate characters where their dimensions are very limited. There's still a lot of like shading in there to make them pop, but there's not as much as like the Tauren has to even just his face and like his beard.
Well, actually, and even on the ponies, like if you look at Celestia's wings, there is a little bit more detail in there than like her body and stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Her hair is even done really awesome.
Yeah.
It's all frazzled.
So frizzy.
All right. I
Cool.
feel like we could talk about this piece forever.
Yeah. And I just love looking at it.
Like, there's so many amazing things as far as like making things well artistically. Like, it's just so much. It's too much to go into.
Yeah. He's done some amazing work. Everything's in this. Everything he does is in this sort of style where it's all sort of wavy. It's sort of like sci-fi sort of pictures.
Yeah.
And then they're all pretty amazing.
He's a great artist to look at if you're looking to improve yourself as an artist or take examples from. Really great.
All right, so I guess we can move on from this piece. Our next piece is called Midnight in Canterlot by Nobin. And this, we're kind of doing this in chronological order a little bit. The first piece was, the ancient elements before, Discord was ruling. And this kind of...
Yeah, in his first reign before, like, Celestia and Luna were kind of, like, grown up,
Yep. And then this piece is kind of, I guess, right before Luna gets banished to the moon. So kind of right after Discord is set in stone the first time. What I find interesting is that, like, the buildings in this piece kind of resemble the buildings in Children of the Night, almost. A little bit. It's like young Canterlot. It's almost like there's this there's consistent theme flowing between the fandom, basically on this kind of story or whatnot. I mean, there's different people have different opinions and stuff like that, but I think there's this kind of similar strand of
and it's kind of awesome
story.
to get all those different strands and see if you can work them together, like how they conflict or in like your own like theme of like trying to tie everything together. It's kind of cool. That's why the ancient Elements of Harmony was like a really cool addition, and then Spirit and Lions or Spirit's little like story of how everything goes is really awesome.
Yeah. By the way, Bern, take a look at the clouds where the moon is. There's some pretty awesome white outlines there.
I was definitely going to mention that. This piece is actually pretty unique in that sense because there's a very big lack of detail in things. Everything is kind of not very detailed, but where the artist adds in that really like bright highlight of white is when you're talking about color or even painting, adding those really like small bright highlights in places adds a lot to add detail and add focus to your piece, like where you want the person to look and like what you want to be the background. So like, yeah, that's awesome that you brought that up. Those really bright white highlights hitting the edges of the clouds there, because you can really tell like the moon is hitting those clouds and like those clouds are like going over it. But I mean, if you look at the city and you look at like the railing, I mean, they're just very quick, like transparent, like messy brush strokes, like creating those vines, but they still have purpose and they're still like pretty exact on what they are. I mean, you can definitely tell if they're vines or going over that. What I mean, you could probably think they're flowers or leaves or whatever you want, but I mean, it leaves a lot of room for the imagination there for that railing. And then the city, again, it's really like transparent in the background and not a lot of detail into it, but you can definitely tell like the lit windows and lanterns or whatever you want to imagine those being. There's that bright highlight of color there. So this is what I was talking about with our first piece about we didn't know what to call our theme for this, whether we want to call it color or whatever, because I mean there's so much awesome use of color and highlights in all of these pieces. I mean, even the stars and Luna's mane really stick out. So
yeah, actually Luna's mane is pretty interesting because this goes back to our is it negative space?
It's a little confusing. Negative space is basically defined as what you don't want to be the subject of your image. So negative space is what's not the subject. Technically, Luna and her hair are the subject. So negative space would be like that pink gradient and up in the top and like dark corner there, because like that's what you don't want people to look at. That's kind of in the background. You know what I mean?
So I guess her main we'll just call it empty space.
That works.
Because it kind of cuts through like Luna's entire body actually, and you can see the stars, which it's kind of interesting. It's almost like it's bending light around Luna. Which is
kind of how
it's definitely not her.
Kind of how
normal.
We keep talking over each other.
Yeah. Finish. Sorry, it's definitely not like her normal mane, and it's not like her mane was in the first piece. It's almost like maybe she's growing into her mane at this point. I don't know.
I don't know. It's different styles of how artists do manes. I think it's really cool. The reason why I love this piece so much and like why I love Luna in this piece so much is that if you look at like the clouds in the background, there's atmospheric perspective there. It has those clouds. It has that gradient over the city, like that clouds, fog, whatever you want to call it, over like the sky there, and it kind of creates that illusion of distance and like the night sky behind it, but it's still like kind of desaturated and has like kind of a color gradient over it, over the stars, because there's sky in between you and the stars. But if you look at Luna's mane, I mean, it's straight up just night. It's that ultimate black with the stars, and they're more clear than the actual sky. So her hair is almost like a window into the actual night sky itself. Like because her hair and or her mane and her tail are actually night. They're actually sky. So they're actually like more clear than if you actually looked at the night sky in the background itself. And I thought that was a really, really cool touch to how like more detailed her mane is than the actual sky.
I really love the way that they did her wings in this, because like you were saying, like most of the piece is very like loose brush strokes, like it's again our dirty medium kind of. But there's I don't want to say detail. Well, yeah, I'll say detail in the wings, because like you get these individual feathers kind of coming off, and like in the wing that's closest to us, the lowest feather is kind of hanging down a little bit. It's It's really interesting.
Yeah, just how I was talking about with like detail to create focus. Like in the moon, you see those really bright white highlights in the clouds, and those portions of the clouds are a lot more detailed than all the clouds in the rest of the piece because they're just really like transparent gradients and stuff. But there's a lot of detail and highlights put in on Luna. So like if you look at the city and the vines and the railing, there's maybe 4 or 5 colors there. You have like the ultimate black, the purples, and then the pinks and like the highlights. And same for the city. Like there's not a lot of differentiation and highlights. There's just a few colors and how they overlap and like being painted in to make that background. But if you look at Luna, I mean, she has a lot of different colored highlights in like exactly in the tips of her wings and like in her face and her ear and her horn there. Everything is like highlighted on the edge because the moon is glowing on her, and then there's a lot of detail put in how she's shaded, and a lot more detail than that there is in the background, and especially her hair and how that makes her pop. So there's a lot more detail and highlights specifically put into Luna to make that her the focus and like make the moon the focus rather than, you know, the background. Which I mean is a really awesome artistic touch, and I mean I love this piece. And I guess I have a what's the word I'm looking for? A preference for pieces like this where there's a lot of room for the imagination and how things are made, but they're always made really, really well. Like, if you look at some of the railing, there's actually like areas where she painted over and like made the vines and then like erased and like used the eraser tool to get rid of and make that really sharp line there, where other lines have like a soft edge and they're transparent. And oh geez, like how this artist uses colors in the piece and like brushing the colors and painting the colors. This is actually like digitally painted and airbrushed. Like colors are all overlapping. So you can tell a lot from like what's an actual color and then what's transparent. So like the railing and the city, a lot of it, like half the colors are transparent colors, like going over other colors to create, you know, that those gradients and how the colors blend. And then some portions have sharp edges and some have soft edges. But if you look at Luna, she isn't, nothing on her is really transparent except for her highlights. And even some of her highlights are actually solid color. So having, like, mixing in between transparent highlights and solid color highlights is, again, like a really cool touch. It's a really cool technique. Because, I mean, what is it? Luna and her body is all solid. It's one solid color. There's no transparencies there. But if you look at the railing or the city, there's a lot of transparency there, blending it into, like, the background clouds or, like, the portions of the plants where they blend together, or like show like the city underneath it. But Luna not doing that, using very like solid colors that don't have transparencies unless she's blending for, you know, color sake or perspective or dimension. It creates again like a very unique focus, and you can tell that it's more detailed in how stuff is made rather than the background. It creates that like transition of how things are made and how colors overlap.
And again, it draws your focus to her.
Definitely.
I think actually what draws my focus the most is her mane, and then you kind of see the rest of her.
And how the light glows like on the front of her and all that. It's done really well.
Yeah. Like her horn especially is pretty amazing.
Yeah, how it's highlighted on each one of the little curves. Spiral. And like the clouds over the moon, like there's a lot of overlapping color, dark to light, and then the highlights, even like to the left of the moon, like you can tell that those are like clouds overlapping. It's done really awesome. And it's kind of awesome how much detail is put into the clouds there, and then how you completely lose and like you can't even tell. It's just like a pink haze off to the right. So
yeah, it's like right around the moon is detailed clouds, and everything else is just
that amount of detail put in that clouds adds a lot to focus, like where people are going to look in your image.
Awesome. We should probably move on.
Oh, I kind of just noticed something.
We could talk about this piece.
If you look at her horn, there's kind of like a mist like coming off.
There's a green.
There's kind of like that little almost like magic coming off it. I don't know if those are stars in the background or if those are like little magics, like twinkles or sparkles. Like maybe she's physically separating the clouds to see the moon or something. Oh, it's kind of cool.
There's also a little bit of green, like right on her mane.
Oh, like right where her ear is?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's kind of interesting.
My watercolor or what? Like just such a subtle touch like
it's
that.
It's like very...
very subtle touches in color can do a lot. There's there's a piece we're going to get to here in a minute that's very, very unique in how it uses color, and probably has the best use of color in all of these pieces. We'll get there when we get there. Anyway.
Well, then let's
then.
move on then. Okay, so our next piece is called Reunion by Helios, or Hylos. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hylos?
Not quite sure.
Something like that. And this, again, kind of chronological order. This is kind of when Celestia and Luna reunite after 1,000 years of banishment
so
and stuff.
Skipping over the whole Nightmare Moon thing, however you want to interpret it, or what happened there, or why she got banished, it goes from, Luna alone looking at the moon to them being reunited.
Mm-hmm. And this piece just uses an amazing style of colors. Just like Celestia's mane, the whole blending from like this warm, hot red on the left side to this cool, dark blue on the right side. It's just like phenomenal.
Like, this is why I wanted to use this piece for like a color theme. Like, we had some cool pieces that really showed like warm colors and light colors. I'll show the example we didn't get to show on the screen, but where it goes from warm on the left to cool, or warm on the right to cool on the left, or however you want to use colors. Like, correctly using colors, or using colors well in your pieces or in art, is something that has to be learned, because like there's a lot of colors where you look at them and you're just like, the color isn't very enjoyable. I don't looking at that color. It's not interesting in any way, especially if colors are conflicting or if they're not complements. Playing with a color complement, or playing with the colors opposite, or like there's a lot you can do there as far as color theory goes. And I will in the future have a color theory episode, but that episode I want to see if Spirit will join us again for that episode. So. But anyway,
that'd be amazing.
But this piece, awesome. Just like as you were saying, like warm to cool. Like it has a great use of how the colors blend and how they transition from warm to cool, and how they have different cooler colors and warmer colors. Like where they're reuniting or like snuggling each other, like that portion of the piece where both their faces are, it's very warm. It creates that warmth, and I mean, if you really want to get in depth with it, I mean, when you look at the piece and think reunited, there's that warm feel to it, that like physically, like emotionally warm, that they're both together and they're both happy, and you can see Celestia crying, and it's just like that dawn, that bright like red glow and yellow glow, and even like the purples on Luna. It's a very warming like color throughout the entire piece, and then it has like the coolness in what's actually Celestia's mane on the right. Because, like, as far as Luna goes, there's nothing really cool about her, even though you think her as, like, the Princess of the Night. It's actually Celestia's mane that's, like, going into the cool, like, sparkle on the right and that blue on the right of the screen. But that transition from, the warmness of the piece to just, like, the less cool colors, like, there's actually less of them in the overall piece of cool, like, dark blue. But having that ultimate blue on, like, the right-hand side of the piece, I mean, really makes it pop and makes the colors stand out and creates that transition. Because if the whole piece was just warm, just that basic red warmness that there is on the left, on the right, it would be really boring, and there wouldn't be any kind of opposite or to it. There wouldn't be any kind of transition in color, and it wouldn't have as much going for it as it really does.
Yeah, it provides a nice contrast. And something else that I noticed that kind of also provides a contrast is if you look at the clouds, like, in front of the moon versus the clouds in the daylight. The clouds behind the moon are in front of the moon are like this detailed, like it's more of a detailed cloud, and then in the warm daylight, the yellow and reds and stuff like that, it's more of a misty fog, like a more welcoming, warm kind of cloud, I guess. You could say
I like
that
touch. The moon's a nice touch too, because it's where she was unbanished from.
Yeah. I like the style that they're in. It looks almost more of an anime
Yeah,
style.
no, that's a really good point. Especially their strokes, how they're all done with black lines, so it's like a more anime, just like you were saying, more anime style feel to it, and the characters, rather than like a My Little Pony unique style where the strokes are colored and thick.
Yeah, and actually, it's always interesting to see like how people will take their own original style into a piece of art, and that's one of them. Is like the show uses these thick outlines, and which is really cool. It gets away from like the older cartoons where it was always black outlines and stuff like that. But it's kind of interesting to see like the characters in a different style, like an older cartoon or an anime style.
Let's see. Think of something cool for this. I mean, if you just look at how the colors kind of overlap each other, how the artist used colors in the main and on the characters, like how the artist creates shading, like on the wing, on Luna's face, in Celestia's hair. It's all very. I mean, if you really look at it, it's very simply done, not in a bad way, but I mean, you can actually see how it's done, like where the colors separate, where they overlap. As far as Celestia like wing goes, and then Luna's face, the colors aren't transparent. You know, they're that solid colors. She chose those colors and like those hues of colors. But if you start looking at Celestia's mane, how each of those colors and highlights in her hair, like behind her head, and then in front of her head, where it transitions from that warm red to like cool blue, you can see how they almost look transparent. I'm not sure if they are, or they are transparent. You can see right behind Luna's ear how they overlap there. I mean, if you actually look at how the artist made like the image and how she actually physically blended the colors, I mean, you can tell how much like effort she really put into making those colors like create depth and like actual perspective to like the characters, and made them pop out, adding shadows to the hair, the ears, and
especially like the wings, the feathers on the wings.
It creates a really unique style for the artist, and it's very anime-ish feel. I mean, there's not a lot of blending where like colors are painted or blended. I mean, the biggest part where I see that is actually in Celestia's right wing, the wing on our right underneath Luna's chin. You can see a little bit of yellow blended in on her wing there. And like that's about it. Other than that, it's a very strict like black outline, and then colors that have a very sharp edge, which is like a huge contrast to the piece before this. Even though as far as color goes, there's a lot of similarity in color between this piece, which is between Reunion and then Midnight and Canterlot, but it's a complete opposite style. And this one has a larger range of color in this piece, especially. A lot more ultimate, like reds, ultimate yellows, ultimate blue.
Yeah, it's more. I guess it's more saturated, especially like in Celestia's mane.
Yeah.
Because you get this deep saturated blue and the saturated red too. But again, to note that the characters themselves, besides Celestia's mane, are desaturated, pretty much. So
you kind of have like they're calmer colors. They're not as quite bright as the sunset there, or her hair.
Mm-hmm.
They're done so well though. This artist style is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the shading. I put together a tutorial on shading for vector thing, and in that I kind of
nice.
Yeah. I kind of covered different styles of shading a little bit, and it's like this artist chooses to use a really hard style of shading, which is pretty awesome, because it there's not really there's kind of a distinct line between what is shaded and what's not. But you can also do the softer shading where you get these blends and stuff like that. But if you do hard shading, it comes out really nicely.
This artist is a great example of that, of using like that hard edge, that hard line for like shadow. And I mean, there's no gradient. Like in our last piece, like almost everything was a gradient or a soft line. And like I kind of touched on how she used the eraser in her painting in Midnight and Canterlot, she actually used the eraser tool to get that hard edge and like hard contrast. Where in this, like it's that color, it's a specific hard color going onto the piece, creating that very distinct edge.
Yeah.
And something cool we'll get to in the next piece is if you look at Celestia's wing, how the yellow from the sunset is kind of radiating onto her wing there, where some color in the background is creating is shining onto another character, of how because I mean, if you have a bright ultimate color in your piece, most of the time it's because it has some kind of glow, or has some kind of it's some kind of light, or even if light hits that, light is going to reflect off that and reflect onto other things. So like you can kind of see how, but this is a simple form where the sunset is yellow and the sunset's going onto her wing. So
yeah,
it's
what a great
it's a nice
segue.
touch. Anyway, so
yeah, so that's a great segue onto our next piece. Thank you, Bernd. So our next piece is called MLP Discord by Xiaoxin. I think that's how you pronounce it. Again, I'm sorry. And this is several years later, I guess, with the main 6, Discord again taking control. And this piece is just
I think there's only like one season between this and the last piece, because like it was the reunions. That's what, episode 2?
Right. Right.
One season later.
Need to go rewatch. Can never get enough Pony. Actually, I think this is this artist's first MLP drawing.
As far as what I've seen in her gallery, or his gallery, let me check real quick. As far as I can check in his gallery, this is definitely the first My Little Pony piece. I mean, it transitions from like Pokemon pieces to Mario pieces to How to Train Your Dragon to like a whole bunch of like fan-made art and fan art. Even some awesome Zelda pieces thrown in there, and then
it's all really well done.
Very like most recently, as of September 30th, is this Discord.
Yeah,
but all of this artist pieces are amazing. They're very professionally done. They're very amazingly done. And there's so much to it that like my art teacher has been trying to like pound into our heads about. You like how to use highlights well, and how to use color well, and how to use lighting well. Something that I tried to touch in our lighting episode, but like wasn't able to because I didn't quite fully understand it. But I will try to in this piece. There is a lot of awesome lighting in this piece, and there's a lot of awesome use of color and like lighting and color. It all throughout this is just awesome, and then shading and. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so we'll start simple. So highlights. We mentioned highlights in some of the other pieces of how like highlights on the edge of something really make it pop, and having that ultimate white. I mean, if your piece is lacking in color and it doesn't have ultimate highlights or ultimate darks, it's very boring. It doesn't have anything to make it pop, make it stand out. There's no differentiation. So like if you were to make this in grayscale, just black and white, minimum you want to have 7 steps. You want to have white being the top, black being the bottom, and then 5 in between. And that's minimum. And so if you don't have those ultimate white highlights and then ultimate darks in your image, it's going to be boring. It's going to be all one big shade of gray. I mean, that's kind of how you would kind of dumb it down in a sense to where it's kind of easy to understand as far as like highlights and darks go. But so for this piece, you can see like on his horn and on his wing and on his hair and even on his back and legs and everywhere where it's on that specific direction, the artist makes it pop, makes that portion pop with like a bright white highlight. And it really makes his ear stand out, his horn stand out, his hair. And even Twilight's got white highlights on her, separating her from his wing. So, I mean, it really creates that sharp edge, and it really looks really good. And then... transitioning from that into like color and light. Oh my goodness. If we start at the bottom, the blue there, that blue water or globe or whatever those ponies are floating in. It's Discord, everything's chaotic. I have no idea what's going on. But
I think it's the Earth.
Oh, maybe.
It's supposed to be.
So he has that blue there and like a little gradient around it, but you can tell that glows. But the only reason you can really tell that that's glowing is one, because of that white, like bright highlight on the edge of it and the little like glow around it. But you can really realistically tell that it's glowing because it hits other things. If you look at the bottom of Discord's body, you can see the glow hit his body there. You can see where the blue hits his fur and they blend together. So like his fur actually changes hue. There's actually color mixed in there. And if you look at his hand that he's resting his head on, or the bottom of his chin or his mane, you can see that blue is going into that. It's blended into that, and the colors are actually blending and mixing in there. And even on his hand is yellow. So if the bright blue of that water is hitting his yellow hand, it creates a green. So there's that green glow on him. And I mean, that's incredibly well done. And you have the turquoise glow in the background. That turquoise glow, if you look at his yellow hind leg there, his lion leg, you can see that turquoise glow hit his leg and then hit his body, and even on his chest, it has that turquoise glow. And then finally, if we go to the very top of the image with that big, bright green, that green is hitting his tail there, right below his spines, and his body is actually colored green. It's that light of the green is reflecting onto his body, and even in his mane, that green mixes in his mane there. I mean, so like what I was talking about in the last piece, if there's a light in your image and light is hitting something, depending on what kind of surface or depending what it is, that light is going to reflect off other stuff, or even that light is going to hit stuff and change the color of that. So if we just had Discord, and Discord was just colored and made, and then you added in like the blue in the bottom and the green in the background and the turquoise behind him, and it wasn't reflecting on him, again, it would be really boring, and he would be really, really popped out from that. And he would appear super far away from it because it wouldn't be affecting him in any way. But because that background, like, space nebula or whatever, smoke or whatever he's in, is, like, physically, like, projecting color onto him, you can tell that it's near. You can tell that there's light there. You can, like, your mind tells you that is glowing, that's bright. Especially, like, the pool in the bottom. And then the white highlights hitting him, he pops so much, and, like, there's so much in terms of color, like, Zyam 05 does that amazingly, and this artist does it amazingly as well. Zyam 05 it's way more subtle and way more realistic, but almost how this is actually done, blown out of like said realism or realistic proportion, is what makes this like so cool and so unique. And I'm an instant fan of this artist. I've been going through his gallery, and everything's awesome. I love his How to Train Your Dragon piece. But anyway,
yeah.
Buttergut.
They're all amazing.
I've been talking for too long.
You
I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah. I let you have your rants.
All right. Yeah. Rainbow Plasma never lets me have any fun, but
no.
When it's Flutterguy, Pinky Dash, and I have fun.
He'll put you in your cage, but yeah, we'll let you roam free.
Yeah. When Rainbow Plasma isn't here, we have fun. We have fun here.
Oh, I miss him. Yeah. What I noticed actually, which is really neat, is if you look at the little figurines of the main six in the globe, there is this like kind of reflection or refraction or something like that, where it's almost like they're on a piece of glass, like double-sided glass, and you can see basically the thickness of the glass or whatever it is, and you also. I think you can also see some of Discord being reflected in there, like his.
Oh yeah, you can see his
goatee,
his elbow, and then his goatee reflects in there. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice those subtle little things.
I know. This artist is amazing. And yeah, like kind of going back to where the reflection and stuff like that, it's it's basically everywhere. And if you're trying to do a really really good art piece, like a full scale art piece, then you should definitely try to incorporate some of the background colors in to your characters, because it just kind of makes everything blend together.
It definitely depends on what kind of feel you want to make. I mean, if there's a light or sun or whatever hitting something in your background, you definitely want to project that color onto your character. I mean, it depends on like atmospherically what you're trying to accomplish, but definitely make sure that you are aware of that and looking at that. So, like, this artist does it really well that, I mean, there's that whatever in the background is physically glowing and projecting onto him. So, like, again, if you're making a large professional piece or, like, a large art project, like, being aware of that and trying to recreate it or use that to your advantage or for whatever kind of feel that you are trying to create in your piece, I mean, it's something, again, really important, as I guess the word that I always keep using, but...
Yeah. I love the little figurines. They're so cute.
Yeah.
They kind of remind me of in the finale, season 2 finale, the little Twilight and
the little
minimalistic
wedding episode things. I don't think they really have a little name, but I know what you're talking about. What are they? They're just the little minimalistic what is it? BFF song. Now I'm figurine things.
Yes.
BFF. F? 3 Fs?
FF. Yeah.
Best
BFF.
big brother, best friend forever.
Big brother. Best
BBFF. There we go. BBFF. I'm a terrible brony.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
We
got this, guys.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But no, I love again. The figurines are super awesome, and like all the highlights on them. Oh my god, the highlights. But anyway, all the highlights on the edge of them, and I didn't notice that refraction. That's really cool. Like, I like to think they're floating and like half in the water, but I mean, again, like you can kind of tell, like, oh yeah, it looks like they're a little bit submerged, because if you look at Rarity's hoof, is that no? Maybe her full hoof is showing. I don't even know. It leaves a lot for the imagination, however you want to think of it. But it's done really well. I love the figurines though, because they are unique in that style. Because as far as like minimalistic characters go, you have like the BBFF, like minimalism. You have just minimalism removing strokes that we kind of talked about in our minimalism episode. And in this one, it's like completely new. They're like My Little Pony minimalistic toys. Like if you bought a My Little Pony toy, they would have like eyes or cutie marks or features. And like in this one, they don't even have cutie marks. They're just, the little figures of the characters. And I mean, they don't have eyes or defining features. They're just like their color, their hair. And I mean, it's done really awesome in that sense. I mean, to create a very unique little toy for Discord to play with, rather.
I would buy one.
Yeah, I would definitely buy models of those main 6 as well.
Yeah.
Make it happen, somebody.
Yes. I also I love the expression on Discord's face. It's he's always plotting something, but in this it's almost like
he looks so content. It's like they're the actual main 6 or something, and he's like holding them up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's conquered them or something, which he kind of did at one point.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. Almost. All right. I guess we can move on to our next piece, unless you.
I don't wanna.
I know, it's so beautiful.
No, it's okay. I'm a huge fan of this next artist, so go right ahead.
Okay. This next piece is called In Memoriam by Smells Like Beer. Great username. Yep. And this, I think it's completely traditionally done and scanned in. And it's kind of on a sadder note. Yeah. After. Yeah.
So So as far as our little story goes, we've come along. We've had the ancient elements of harmony, and then we've gone through the Nightmare Moon episode, and then finally Discord's second return with the main 6, and then finally after the main 6 have banished him and it's in the future, this is unfortunately the very sad, macabre ending of where it says right on the right of the picture, here lies the ashes of the elements of harmony. And like, oh, it's very sad, and you can see Spike in the background flying away. And I mean, there's a lot, as far as artistically goes, like represented in your image, there's a lot for the imagination. I mean, when I look at this, I like to think that Spike visited, this shrine and left the roses, and then he's flying off. And I mean, that's why the petals are in the distance.
I'm gonna cry now.
Yeah, right. It's so sad. There's a little description below that the artist writes, and he mentions that he likes to think that Spike went through his 100 years of sleep, because you remember in the Dragon Trap episode where like the dragon's gonna sleep for 100 years and there's gonna be the smoke everywhere, 100 years of darkness, whatever. So like he went far away and did his sleep, and then finally grew up and became an adult dragon. But when he awoke, I mean, ponies don't live that long.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're famous enough to have a shrine, because in the season, like, you think when you banish Discord or something, you'd be famous or something when you save the entire world, but no, they get no fame. Whatever.
Well,
you think, like, oh, you're Twilight Sparkle, the savior of your entire world, but no.
They get a stained glass
window. They get a stained glass window in, in Canterlot Castle, and no one cares. Anyway. Maybe when they save the crystal ponies, they'll get some recognition. But
spoilers.
No, anyway. Oh god. No, this artist. I just found this artist the other day, and I am instantly, not when I say the other day, like a few days ago, but I am a huge fan of this artist. I am a huge fan of like cross-hatching and like old traditional styles. For those that don't know, cross-hatching is a very ancient style that started up. I don't really have a year to throw it. I would have to insert one of my little inputs here, but maybe I won't, maybe I will. But it is a very ancient art form that started with the printing press and etchings. Basically, it started because of etching. Because when you are physically carving something into wood, metal, or stone, you can't really create gradients. You can't create blending. And if you were to like carve something into a wood face, if you leave little lines or cross-hatching lines like this and then put ink on that wooden panel and then print it onto things, you physically can recreate an image out of lines. So you can create the illusion of shading with lines. So, I mean, through engraving and things like that is like how cross-hatching developed. So it's a really ancient style, and artists would even use it to create, like mock-ups of maybe what they would want to etch onto a door. Gustav Dore comes into mind. It's kind of funny that he used to etch on big metal doors when his name is Dore. But Dore, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. What is it? When you guys did featured my little master's study,
yes.
What is it? Cosmic Unicorn was actually doing a master's study of Gustav Dore, and he was a famous like metal like engravist and etchist artist, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, that's what he did, and I mean he was a master at that, and way more complex than something like this. Have like a giant like 20-30 foot door. But anyway, he would use cross-hatching, and that was his style. So, and this artist, every single one of his pieces is using cross-hatching, and it's done traditionally. It's done on paper, and it's done with pens and nibs and things like that. But it's amazing. I've never seen My Little Pony art in this style. I've never seen it in like a cross-hatching style, and it's a very like comic-ish, old school, cartoony, like style. Like I'm sure there's other like cartoons that can't come to mind, but I've seen like old school cross-hatching style before, especially like how he does the tree there and like has like everything like kind of cross-hatched in. But I've never seen it in like the My Little Pony universe before. So like this piece really captured me, like everything, like what went into making it and how it's made. And it worked well into this Elements of Harmony theme, and we were kind of throwing around the color theme beforehand. It fit well because it has a touch of color, just one color to create the highlight of what you want your image to be. I really like the playing with just adding a simple color to things, and specifically one color, or maybe one or two or three colors. Most of the time I see it in like someone's eyes or something, like defining features, like they'll desaturate the image and then keep like the blue eye or whatever. But I mean, having the red roses in this piece really creates that macabre, like sad feel, because like the roses are there to, commemorate them. And so it really makes those roses pop from the image. Because if they weren't red, if they were just black and white, you might not notice them at first. They would blend in with all the other flowers. But because they're that bright, vivid red, you see those roses, you see that they were freshly left with the petals blowing away. And then it really creates a lot of emotion to add with Spike flying away in the distance.
Yeah.
But, oh my goodness, if you look at the amount of cross-hatching, like cross-hatching takes a lot of skill to do it well, because if you have your lines at like different, like so little room for error and like having your lines at different like ways away and like lengths away and stuff, but there's not too much room for error, because if you do it sloppily, it looks very poor and it doesn't look very good. But this artist, all of his cross-hatching, it's very, very well done, because I guess he does it so much, but he does a very cool tutorial picture that shows like each step that goes into making one of his pieces. How he starts out with the sketch, then goes into the lines, and then goes into the cross-hatching and shading. I mean, it's breathtaking, really. I mean, I was instantly captivated by this artist, and I left him a little whatever you want to compliment on his DA page. But I mean, even something as little as that, I felt was too little. So I felt like we really had to feature him on the show, because I mean, we're a show about art, and we love showing unique art styles, and this is a very unique, very traditional, very ancient, awesome art style, and I thought it was worth highlighting on a show.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting because like if you exclude the white background, there's only two colors that are used, the pure black and the red, and the black, it's just in how close the lines are together that creates this like shading kind of feel.
I mean, if you want to get really like arguably into it, I technically don't know because I don't have a master's in color theory, but I believe black is simply the absence of color, and then white is just ultimate white. It's the ultimate brightness. Arguably it's every color in the spectrum, because like your eye can only tell specific colors, blah blah. But anyway, but yeah, so black being the absence of color, so technically the only color is red. But I get what you mean, though, by that. It's the only thing creating differentiation at all in the piece is just the black.
Yeah.
But no, I love this kind of style. I wish I could sketch in this kind of style. The master study I did, not what I drew, because I drew it in pencil and graphite, but Cosmic Unicorns piece was all done in pen, and it was a master study of an artist that physically would actually do that style. He would sketch in just a black and white style and then etch into a black and white style. So she only used black pens, just like this artist did, to create that style of Luna on like a background. And like this artist does it in a more cartoon sense, in that it's like there's less realism. But I mean, perspective is all realistically done, and everything is cross-hatched in like it's cross-hatched in everything being in the same direction, and they're very straight lines, and the lines matching up. And to create more shadow, he tilts the lines 45 degrees or tilts them to gain like a sense of like depth or direction. And what I find is very cool is that there's a lot of perspective in this, and the outlines is what creates that perspective. But the cross-hatching is always at a constant angle. It's always like straight or angled. And you can still tell that there's a lot of depth or proportion there. As lines like start to develop and cross-hatching style develops, artists will change the direction in which they cross-hatch. So if something's angled, they will angle the lines in that direction, because the lines can do a lot to convey direction or depth or the way something's facing. And this artist does do that quite a bit in portions of his piece. But
if you look at the trees especially, I think that kind of highlights it.
Yeah, the complete randomness of the hatching in the tree is definitely like complete opposite of that of like the stone or the steps.
Yeah.
There's a little bit in Spike's wings, if you notice the cross hatching on like right below his like spines and his like wing elbow things. There's direction to those, and a slight little bit of direction.
Yeah.
But his wings are shaded really cool. But I've just never seen this like style of cross hatching before. So like looking at it and how it works, it's very, very unique. So
yeah. And you can convey like a very complete piece using the style. Like he's even got like a shadow from the memorial kind of thing. Off to the right side of it and stuff like that.
Behind the flowers.
Yeah. It's it's just phenomenal what you can do.
There was a concept that my art teacher was trying to teach us. Composition, I believe, is what it was. But this piece is done really well compositionally because for a couple of reasons. That ultimate white in the background there with Spike like behind the tree, and then how you have the piece in the middle like popping out from the stuff behind it, and then the piece on the left and the right are those kind of parts of the shrine there, or what would you want to call this, or rather than shrine, memorial.
Memorial,
yeah. How they kind of like create that little bit of perspective or depth from the back railing there, because they're forward more than what's in the middle, but what's behind it is like behind, but it creates a lot to add depth. I mean, you can physically see that they're closer and they're far away, but what also adds a lot to create the feeling of dimension, feeling of depth and composition is the simple grass in the very front there, right below the steps. Having that little lip of grass there adds a lot to add depth. It physically makes those steps and those portions there pop out. Like if you had the composition just right there, you ended the picture on the steps, you would be right up against the steps, and you'd be up against the middle portion there. And like if you cover it up, it gets rid of an entire layer of depth. But just adding that grass adds a lot. It adds a little bit of depth and proportion. And kind of going off that same feel, it's the same thing with the plants that are hanging right on the front, right above Applejack's cutie mark. You have that shading below the plants. You can tell that those plants are like 3D and they're not just flat simply because of that, because they hang over and create that extra layer of depth and perspective. So something very simple like that. There's a lot of famous artists that will add just a simple color, a simple lip to a table or something on the edge portion of the table, and then add something hanging over and add a shadow to create this distance between you and the picture and what you're looking at. So like a good concept would be if you have a picture and you add an edge of a table on the bottom of the picture, but all you can see is the edge of the table. There's not a lot to say that's an edge unless you unless you, or if you put something like hanging over that edge, and then add a shadow, then the bottom part of your picture is that edge, but having something go over that edge actually projects it forwards, like into the viewer. So it creates this like illusion of depth because your mind thinks like, hey, what's hanging over that table edge is physically popping out of this picture at me. So
yeah,
this piece doesn't do that because it just has the grass, but the plant does that, and like using that to your advantage can create a lot of depth in your pieces. I just wanted to like throw that out there because that's something I learned recently. Yeah, I keep ranting.
Burned always making us smarter.
I try my best.
So I guess we'll move on to questions then.
All right, Pinky Dash.
Okay. All right, now, so questions this week. We've actually had a couple that have been sent in via email, which is pretty cool, so thank you all for doing that. Yay. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so first question we've got here is from Otakup. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Otakup, I think. Otakup, because he...
Maybe.
Let's see. Otakup is from... Let me see. He is from Finland.
Okay,
so
Otakup.
I assume his name
Otakup.
is Finnish.
Finnish.
I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it.
Okay, so anyway, the question is, what do pictures I sketch while waiting on something turn out better than the ones I try to plan? Which kind of makes sense, because I know I've done that.
Yeah, no, it's actually a pretty good question. I mean, a lot of artists find that just the stuff they start catching or sketching down just for fun or just to pass time ends up being really cool, or even better than some of the stuff that they really try to plan out or put a lot of thought into. And I think the reason that some of the stuff that you sketch turns out better than the stuff you plan is just because the amount of freedom you have. You don't care. You're just there sketching, what comes to mind, what you think is fun. You're just having fun with it and just, sketching. But if you really try to plan something or put a lot of thought into it, a lot of artists really struggle to get, what's in their mind onto paper. And some of the concepts that I try to go over or have tried to go, whatever. Some of the stuff that I've tried to say in our past episodes is like how you can't, sometimes it's really hard to be able to plan out and put exactly what you want onto paper. Sometimes you just have to start, drawing, start working and start putting stuff down on whatever you're working on your screen, on your page or whatever, and just work as you go. Don't try to plan too much out because there's always room to, edit, get rid of, redo, change, and like you should never feel like something's set in stone. So if like you're really trying to plan something, maybe that's not the best way to do art, for you. It's not to try to plan out strictly what you want. Like you should always have some kind of plan or some kind of map, but use it as just a way to, start going. Don't use it as something that you really have to stick to. And I mean, if you try that, or if you try just having just a basic, undersketch or map and then really go from there, I think you'll find out that it'll be more like as if you were sketching to pass the time and have a lot more fun with it and turn out a lot better. So I really like that question, so that's why I chose to pick it.
Yeah, I know. I think it was 2 weeks ago we had a question about what we found was the hardest part of starting out.
Yeah.
And that kind of relates to this because it's like I think all of us said that like getting the concept out onto a piece of paper is probably the hardest part. But if you're just sketching and doodling to pass the time and stuff, then your ideas get out onto the paper then and there versus trying to think back and try and remember how you pictured it in your mind and stuff. And you do have the freedom to kind of tweak stuff, and you're not as focused on the details.
Yeah, it's just your mind wandering free. Okay.
Yeah, this artist, or this, I'm going to say artist because this person who sent in this question is actually an artist. We have his DeviantArt account, and he has some really cool pieces in there. He actually sent up some awesome pieces. We didn't manage to work them in this episode, but we do in the future plan on doing a fan episode, like fan submission episode. It's a good shout out for that. So again, if you have any pieces that you'd like to, be on the show when we eventually come to the point where we have enough to make an awesome fan art episode, we will definitely make sure to feature it. We might even make it like a super long episode or something. I'm not sure.
Maybe. If
we get a whole bunch, but this artist in particular, Otakup, is really awesome at doing positions and like anatomy, like pony anatomy and proportion. A lot of his pieces are really, really well done because they're always really unique and like handcrafted pieces. So like I'm not sure if you're planning those out or just doodling them, but they're really good. So keep up the work with that. But anyway.
So we have some things to plug. Actually, do you want to start first, Bern?
All right, sure. We have a DeviantArt account where you can see all of the pictures that we featured in today's episode, as well as maybe some extras that didn't make it in. And that is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com, and you can go there and check it out, and you can send us a note or whatever you'd like to do, or, comment on some of the art, or let the artist know, add their pieces to your favorites. The artists always appreciate that, and we do too. And we also have an email account, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. And if you have any questions or any art submissions that you'd like to send to us, please send it in there, and make sure to put in a description in your subject that says, art submission or questions, because it helps us let us know and organize our folder. And we'd appreciate any questions or submissions that you guys might have.
You guys sent in questions, which is awesome, and we'd love to hear more from you about that and stuff.
And again, it's always greatly appreciated, and we appreciate everyone who's been giving us feedback. It's been awesome.
Yep. And also big thanks to the percussion brony for the music, the background music that we've probably been playing throughout the episode. So we also have a Twitter, which is @CutieArtCrusade, and that's really, if you want to get the most up-to-date information, if there's any technical issues or anything like that, you can check the Twitter. We'll also post, when we're going to have our episodes up. If you don't know by now, it's Tuesdays at 9 Eastern. And we also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/CutieArtCrusaders, I think. And we've been getting quite a few likes on there.
I
pretty
constantly
awesome.
get little updates because I'm part of the group administrators. Like, hey, this person likes your group. Like, yeah, people like us.
Yeah. we're kind of cool.
We try.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for your support. 15 episodes.
Right.
Wow.
That's 15 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah. And with season 3 starting soon, it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Definitely. Season 3 is going to be exciting. Also,
Yeah.
plug for next week. People keep asking us what our next themes are going to be. I want to apologize about that. Really sorry that we don't say our theme sooner or have a little calendar laid out with our themes. We're going to try to maybe start up a public calendar to let people know what things we're going to be doing. But as far as the future goes, our next episode on the 12th, I have scheduled an artist called Alien First. She is an amazing artist. I'll link her DeviantArt. It's alienfirst@deviantart.com, and she's going to be joining us on the 12th. And because I've got confirmation for this, so we can actually confirm that this is happening, and it's 2 weeks down the line, so it's a big heads up. On the 19th of October, Pixel Kitties will be joining us for an interview on our show, and that is really exciting. Pixel Kitties is a huge artist. I am a huge fan. I have met her at Everfree Northwest, and she was awesome. I love being able to talk with her and get a whole bunch of stuff from her and signed by her. And I actually have an awesome little Phillies, My Little Pony Philly badge made by Kawimo. I think I'm saying that right. Kawimo. An interesting name, but really awesome dude, awesome artist. He's the guy responsible for making all the head bob videos. And I bought at Everfree Northwest. I bought a bunch of Philly pins from him with the headshots of different characters and OCs, and I got Sibsy, Ravenismo, Cat Whitney, and then Pixel Kitties, and got Pixel Kitties to sign it, and it's one of my little cherished possessions. But that's just a little awesome thing. But again, so the 19th, plan on it. Be there with us for Pixel Kitties on Cutie Art Crusaders. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're really excited to have her. And then Alien First is also a super awesome artist, so should be there too.
Yes, and we'll try and get a calendar set up or something so that you guys can know the themes at least a week in advance, hopefully 2 weeks. So you guys can submit art if you want.
All right,
cool.
Well, I think that about wraps up our episode. I think I have rambled plenty enough.
I think we've let you ramble long enough. Time to rope you in.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of fun here on our show today, and we're definitely gonna have a lot of fun in the future. So we hope that you'll join us for that, and for our awesome interviews and highlights and whatnot. So again, I am Burndo1.
I'm Flutterguy317.
And I'm Pinky Dash.
Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.